video, I'm going to be running through the process of a renovation and how much it actually costs to renovate a house. Right, so one of the key things that I always get asked is, what is the process of a renovation? So you've got your keys for your first property. Let's go through the process of a renovation. So one thing that I get asked all the time is what actually is the process from start to finish of a renovation and how much does it actually cost? Now, remember, these prices are for the East Midlands, the West Midlands, the North and down South, not London. London is a world of its own. The prices there, I don't even want to talk about it. You've got the keys to your first renovation project. What are the next steps? So the first thing you want to do when you get into that property is turn off the gas and the electric. Make sure that there's no bills to pay in terms of council tax and any other water, gas, electricity bills. You want to change the locks because any previous tenants, any previous landlords may have access to your property. One thing that I would do is get a key box installed on the side of the property. This means that any contractors going in and out will always have access to your property without you having to physically be there. This is so easy to do, and also it means that your time is saved. Now, you're in the property. This is where you get in your structural engineer and your architect. Your architect's going to give you the working drawings and the plans for your property. If you're doing any reconfiguration, if you're turning it into an HMO, if you're taking out any chimney breasts, this is where the structural engineer and the architect come into play. Once you've got that sorted, you start the strip out phase. So you get a team in to do this, or you can do it yourself if you're brave. You're stripping out, whether you're going back to brick, you're taking everything out of that property to give it a blank canvas. Then we've got reconfiguration. This is where you start to figure out where you're adding stud walls, if you're taking anything out, if you need to add steels, when you're taking out the chimney breast, if you're adding gallows brackets, or if you're taking out the whole stack. So, reconfiguration has started. Now you've got first fix electrics and first fix plumbing. Now, let's go off the basis that you're doing a full rewire rather than just chasing in. You're going to want to make sure that your electrician is putting the wires straight. Now, within a wall, the cables need to go down and across the sockets. They cannot, or just down. They cannot go diagonal. You need to be on point when it comes to this. Any good electrician who knows what they're doing is not going to put it diagonal. But if you're starting off and this is your first renovation, you never know what could happen. If someone puts a picture in a wall and they bang into the electricity cable, that's on you. Then we start off with first fix plumbing. This is if you've stripped out the bathroom, you're having a whole new bathroom, if you're adding any different things into the bathroom. So whether you're taking it from a 3-piece to a 4-piece, if you're adding en suites, if you're moving the kitchen around, this is all where plumbing comes in. In HMOs, this is a little bit more complicated because if you're adding en suites to all the rooms, you need to ensure that the waste can get out of the property. If your soil stack is at the front and you've got en suites at the back, this is something that you need to make sure that you factor in when it comes to renovation costs because that can be expensive. Now we've got replastering. This is where if you've gone back to brick, you're adding in boards. These can be regular plaster boards, fireboards if you're in an HMO. You can do moisture plaster boards in bathrooms and tile directly onto that. It's whatever suits your preference and whatever suits your budget. If you're changing the staircase, you need to make sure that this is put in. This is where first fix carpentry comes into play. So you've got to add skirting boards, architraves. You've got to make sure that the staircase is fitted. Not fully reboarding, replastering, skimming. Also, if you're replacing the windows, this can be done at any stage. You need to ensure that you've got a good window fitter because this can be done at any process of the renovation, but if they do it wrong, it could mess up a lot. You've also got central heating. This needs to be done. Now you need to add in new radiators, a new boiler, everything like that if you're doing it in your renovation. This doesn't need to be done in every property, but it also increases the EPC. So if you're doing an HMO and you've got 6 tenants in, this is where a whole new central heating system is vital. Depending on what you're using as the flooring, this is where you either add skirting now or later. So, for example, with carpets, I prefer my carpets to have the skirting on top of them. Now with tiles and stuff like that, it doesn't really matter, but it is completely down to what you want to do. You want to start flooring the property. So carpets in bedrooms, laminate in lounges, tiles in kitchens, and also if you're doing floor to ceiling tiles in your bathrooms. The process of a renovation can differ on what you're doing. If you're doing an HMO, if you're doing a small 2-bed terrace, it's kind of the same stages throughout. However, because there's different elements to the properties and each property comes with its own challenges, the renovation process can vary. Now, your plaster is dry. This is where a mist coat comes in. Now, a mist coat will reveal to you if there's any problems with the plaster. If you've got a good plaster in, it should be smooth, there shouldn't be any wrong lines, but a mist coat will show that for you. There's nothing wrong with the plaster, you move on to painting and decorating. Now, I believe that white is the best colour to paint your house. And this is because if you're flipping your house or you've got HMO tenants coming in, or any tenants for that matter, you don't want them to come into a house where they think that they've got to change stuff. That could be the worst thing. If you're trying to sell a house fast, but you've got a random blue wall in your kitchen and that tenant hates the colour blue, all they're going to think about is that they have to change that blue wall before they move in. Think about it. Got second fix plumbing and fitting the kitchens and fitting the bathrooms. These can go in now once the flooring is laid. Tile up to under the kitchen, but it's completely up to you and also what your contractor recommends doing. Last thing in a property renovation is snagging. Now this is vital. You need to ensure that everything in your property is perfect. Plug sockets straight. Are your light switches straight? Is your painting and decoration perfect? Are your windows fitted correctly? Are your carpets unstained? Tiles straight. Everything that could be wrong needs to be checked. This is now time to refinance or sell. This is where you get your valuer in. It's called BRR for a reason. You buy, you refurbish, you refinance, and then you rent. You don't get a valuer in once you've rented the property because tenants destroy properties. You need to ensure that you get the max valuation in order to make your deal stack. A couple of things I didn't touch on in the renovation process is your back and your front garden, your front door, your back door, and rendering the property. Now, if you don't have side access to your garden, you need to ensure that you do the back garden before anything else. Once the strip out is done, tackle that back garden. You don't want to be traipsing in materials, dirt, everything like that once you've just renovated your property. Now rendering, I really like. I think it adds an incredible curb appeal to the property and adds a lot of value. So it's up to you as a person and also your budget. But rendering, monocouche render is incredible. Front door and back door goes on last. You're traipsing in materials back and forth into your house. You don't want to create dents and have to purchase a new front door. Don't add to your stress and don't increase your budget for silly mistakes. Now let's run through the prices quickly of a renovation. Strip out is £2,000. This is all based off a 3-bed semi-detached house. Fascias and guttering is around £1,750. A new roof, depending on the contractor you use, can range from around £6,000 to £8,000. A kitchen from Howdens, depending on the size of the kitchen, you're looking at around £4,000 to £6,000. A bathroom, £2,000 to £3,500. An ensuite, full 3-piece ensuite with the stud walls, £2,500. A rewire of a property, £4,500. Central heating, £4,500. And carpentry, £3,500 to £4,500, depending on what sort of spec that you're doing. Fire doors, all that sort of thing. This isn't for HMO, this pricing, this is just for a 3-bed semi-detached house. Windows and doors can be negotiated to around £6,000 to £7,000, depending on how many windows you have in the property. When you have a rewire and you want to add spotlights, ensure that you negotiate with your electrician to include those spotlights in the price. it's not that expensive to put spotlights in. So make sure that you're confident and you know what you're talking about. Flooring, what I do is the square meterage of the property times £40. That gives you an average. Chimney breast removal, £750. That includes your structural engineer fees. This is per chimney breast. Make sure that you know the price of removing chimney breasts and make sure that you get your party wall agreement before you do anything. Plastering of a full 3-bed semi-detached house is around £7,000. Painting and decorating, £2,500, including the mist coat. And to finish, render. We're talking £95 to £105 per square metre of the house, and that's 3 sides of render. Now, if you guys like this video and you want more content on anything to do with property, make sure to subscribe and drop me a comment of what you'd like to see. I'll see you guys in the next